kept you waiting, huh?
Hello and welcome all. I was actually doing an indie character video since that was the one that won the poll last time on my community tab. Then out of the blue Taimanin Amazing DM'd me on Discord asking for my opinions on the characters he doesn't have in Action Taimanin. This prompted me to redo my content and make it into a tier list instead, since I'm gonna go in depth as well on the characters here in Action Taimanin. Let's get started. First of all, what is a tier list? It's a concept which subjectively rank playable characters or other in-game elements by their respective viability. Characters listed high on a tier list of a specific game are considered to be powerful characters compared to lower-ranking characters and are therefore more likely to be used in high-level play. With that said, as always, a tier list subjective, unless a character really sucks and it's up to the skill of the player to make that character good or how much a player will wail for that certain character. Always remember as well about the learning curve of each character. There are some skills that look powerful on paper, but requires huge execution and investment to pull off, while others are so brain dead, and some can go caveman style, hit you with their weapon then dodge to safety and trigger skills. Those characters are so easy to pick up and learn why they are at the top of the food chain in Action Taimanin. Always remember, learning a character takes skills, yes, we all know that. But also remember that there are brain-dead characters that play themselves. You don't even need to try. If you do, you only need a little amount of effort. It's like this character needs to mash buttons and dodge, while the other character just auto-shoots everything and doesn't even need input from the player. We need to have these questions in mind before we go into the tier list. Is the character good with 3 skills, yes or no? Does the character work better with 4 skills, yes or no? You are dependent? You are reliant? Needs investment, good supporters, stats, you are weapons, magadamas, costumes, yes, costumes, because here costumes increases stats of a character. Effectiveness of skills. Ease of use, is the character easy to use? Character difficulty or learning curve. Is the character good in arena? Is the character good at PvE? Is the character good at tower? Effectiveness of builds. Stats. Overall stats to see where a character is good from the start or not. Dodge. The evasion ability of a certain character. Speed, how fast is the character? Range of a character. Color builds, where the certain character excels. Does the character have a counter? Does the character have HP steal skills? Overall DPS damage potential. Overall effectiveness. Based on experience and people I've met playing Action Taimanin. I know a person at the Action Taimanin Discord that did the arena prologue hard with Asage on a lower level than me and doesn't have her best UR weapon and won. I barely won with even Emily there, and she was fully upgraded at the time and was 75 on the early days of Action Taimanin. Like said, it's sometimes the player's skill that also comes to account. As for the in-depth analysis of each character, we need to break down these questions. These are their skills, tools, and gimmicks which what make them good in the game. Now on to the tier list. S tiers, the meta girls. Emily, Murasaki, Asage. S tier. Emily Simmons. Having the auto-fire skill at level 14 gives her a huge advantage. This may look like a simple skill, but it's very powerful. All you need to is get a good SR or UR weapon and max it out, and Emily can auto dailies for you. Her gameplay is kinda brain dead, where she can auto almost every content in Action Taimanin. I am not saying you don't need to learn anything, but what I mean is that she is very easy to use and to pick up, and her effectiveness in all content. All you need to do is keep away from enemies, do skills which are some are automatic like the homing missiles, and just heal and life steal. Speaking of that, she has HP life steal skills and healing skills which makes her a tank, healing while attacking enemies. Any color build with her is good and she is good everywhere. After getting your initial starting character, get Emily ASAP. She will be your best asset to auto grind daily for ore, magadamas, gold, etc. She also has great crowd control skills and zoning skills. The best example of that is her gravity hold. Though she doesn't come without minor flaws. She has the weakest evasion and dodge in the game. Emily also has the weakest attack stat in the game, since she can only dodge once and she is the slowest character in the game. What makes up for that is her range, firepower, and skills, and all the tools in her arsenal. Why she's the best in the game. She needs very little investment, only a good SR or UR weapon at max. You're good to go with Emily. She is the PvP and PvE queen of Action Taimanin. This is truly tried, tested and proven. I can argue if you really like the character and invested a lot, she's god tier, even above Murasaki and Asahi. S tier. Murasaki. Fun fact: initially when she came out on the Japanese server on the early days of Action Taimanin, she was really weak. She does big damage, but is slow and doesn't have good DPS, and players complained how weak Murasaki is. After a couple of weeks, Murasaki has been reworked and buffed and she's now super strong and truly live up to her name. The Undying. She now has a huge hitbox on her attack strings. Huge damage against enemies and some skills reworked. As said, she is now faster, better and stronger. She doesn't even need a UR to deal big damage, only a good SR weapon. If you ever get a UR weapon for her, get ready to see some disgusting damage even at low level. Yes, that's how strong she is. Murasaki also has a good evasion that matches Asahi. Her main build is the green build, which consists of a lot of life steal skills and a very nasty crowd control skill called Tentacle Mine. She's also has a good build on red, which makes her go Hulk smash on everyone, and her blue build has a great spinning skill that does huge damage with mobs. Her best build is green, where she excels at and can use her life steal skill and be kept alive in any content in the game. Her green build can also slow down enemies to a crawl, and she's also got a counter that replenishes her HP as well. That's how good her toolkit and gimmick is. Murasaki also has excellent stats from attack, defense, HP, and critical damage. Only Asahi and Sakura are above her overall stats. She's very easy to pick up and learn. Her main downside is that she's still slow on her attacks even after the buff. Some attacks and skill leave her open for punishment and is weak to Asahi in arena. At times as well, her counter can whiff and miss, doesn't have the homing like Kurenai has, but has a huge AoE hitbox radius that can hit a mob of enemies. With all that being said, Murasaki is best for any content with her life steal skills and damage, little investment, doesn't even need a fourth skill slot, and can cheese end game tower and events. She is definitely an S tier. S tier. Asahi. The main protagonist of Action Taimanin. She needs little to no investment. Her Kujin-Ka skill can cheese out stages as long as there's no time limit and you got good dodging skills. Asahi is also one of the free initial characters where you can choose from on the game. She is arguably the best among the two, and Yukikaze coming a good second choice for an initial free character. She's easy to pick up. The only thing you really need to learn is the timing of her Kujin-Ka skill, which slows down time. This skill has a short cooldown period. That is why you can actually spam this skill. Asahi is good with 3 skills, but works better with 4 since some of her skills can buff her attacks. She's not UR weapon reliant either. If you got good dodging skills, you can use Kujin-Ka then hit enemies while they are slowed down. Rinse and repeat. Being the main protagonist, of course, she has the best stats in the game overall and has the most costumes as well. Yukikaze attacks are fast and can easily break armors. She moves very fast and her evasion is very fast as well. She has some good mid-range attacks in her arsenal of movesets and can be in your face with immediately as well. She also has a life-steal skill, though a little risky to use since it can leave her wide open. It's a high-risk high-reward move. The only downsides to Yukikaze is her button-mashing gameplay, where she lacks some tools to take down enemies, unlike Emily and Murasaki has a lot, but thanks to Kujin-ka she's way up there on the S tier with them. Her best builds are either green or red depending on your play style. If you want more speed after Kujin-ka, go green. If you want a longer duration for Kujin-ka, use the red build. The blue build with Kujin-ka increases her particle charge for an easy ultimate. Her blue build is for her life steal, which, as said earlier, a high risk high reward skill. On her green build she has Renjin-ka, which is similar to Devil May Cry Dante's million stab move, which is best tandem with Kujin-ka for massive DPS. She's good everywhere as well, striking a balance between cheesing and having to learn the character moveset and timing. Truly, Yukikaze is the almighty Taimanin thanks to her speed and Kujin-ka skill. She is one of the best. A tier, good everywhere, but lacks some tools to make them S tier. Kurenai, Rinko, Asuka, Yukikaze. A tier. Kurenai. Fun fact: Taimanin Kurenai is actually one of the spin-off visual novels in the Taimanin series. His father is actually the main bad guy in the Taimanin series, who is Edwin Black, and has a sister named Felicia. Another fun fact is that Felicia is older than Kurenai. Now, with that aside, why is Kurenai A tier? The main reason is that she has so many good builds and she's good everywhere, but with that being said, those other builds she has will lack the skills and buffs the other color builds has. Example is Kurenai's counter. Setting green as main will life steal, having 2 reds with Gale Slash will also grant you another life steal move, but you will lose the 3 red skill build increased 50% critical rate. Or if you are going with Howling Wind, you'll only have 1 green, which only reduces the damage taken during the attack. So basically she has a give and take on skills unless you're okay with that kind of build. Kurenai has so many pros in her moveset. She has the best counter in the game, which is homing, and depending on the build will either make the enemy groggy on red, restore HP on green, and reduce target's defense on blue. Her attacks are fast and so free-flowing it's like you're flying with her. She's very fun to play and has all the tools and builds for PvP and PvE. She's arguable the second best character on PvP arena due to her counter move, which has homing properties. She can counter Rinko's Meteor and Yukikaze's Death Ball, and can even take on Emily if she gets up close with her Spiral Rend skill. That says a lot for her in PvP. Though she has a minor learning curve where you need to time her Gale Slash after an attack string or skill, but if you're not running that skill you really don't need that learning curve. She's got great stats as well in the game, even beating Murasaki's overall stats. Not really UR dependent, just a good SR and little investment, you're good to go with her. The only real flaw to her is which build suits you as a player. She has so many color builds to choose from and they're all good, and with proper investment she's really great. A tier. Rinko. She's the childhood friend and senpai of Yukikaze. Both Rinko and Yukikaze came from the visual novel Taimanin Yukikaze, which the two are partners. Rinko had a significant character growth quote-unquote visually on the second visual novel in appearance. That more voluptuous design is carried over on Action Taimanin. As for Rinko, from the get-go has average stats even till late game, one of the reasons why she's not S tier. She's not up there with Asahi and Sakura, but she's not also the lowest in stats overall in the game that falls onto Yukikaze. Basically she has a well-balanced stat on attack, defense, crit, and HP. Her primary and best build is blue. The meteor skill is extremely powerful, it can one-shot mobs if she's leveled and invested on. Her SR weapons are great, one can speed her up during normal attacks up to 5 times, the other has increased damage to demon-type enemies. She also has great crowd control skills from Wind Slice, Meteor, Spiral Rift, and skills that can groggy enemies, which is really great for PvE and PvP. She also has a life steal move that replaces Meteor, but is risky, similar to Asahi, a high risk high reward skill. So either go DPS with Meteor or life steal, since both skills use the same command. And in action Taimanin you cannot use the same skills with the same input commands, which is one of her downsides. Another is that she is mainly focused on the blue build, which is her most damaging build with Meteor. Her other color skills are not really used that much. Although that has changed since, thanks to the buffs she had a few months back that increased all her color skill, damage builds are now doable to be used for other playstyles, which if a player wants to change playstyles with her. Her playstyle, by the way, is similar to Virgil from Devil May Cry, with the exception her meteor comes from Dante. Her green and red build can leave her open for attacks which needs proper timing and setup. She has a learning curve to her skills, another reason why she's not S tier. She is not really hard to learn since she's not technical. Her attack strings and skills just need timing, and you can attack cancel out of every attack she does, making her safe on incoming attacks. Her normal attack string has an ender that hits multiple enemies, and fun fact, that is a range attack. Another fun fact is that Meteor is also a ranged attack. Rinko's evasion is really good, she can evade 2 times and teleports, making her iframes very high. As for skills, Rinko is good with 3 skills, but even better with 4 skills, since she can do a follow-up skill corresponding to the skill she did continuously. Best examples are her Violet Slash, which can be done after her attack string or any skill she does. Another skill is the Shift, these two are good follow-up skill attacks. With a UR weapon, Rinko shines a lot. Her best weapon is the Kirin, which has a 5% chance to groggy enemies. Imagine this, Rinko already has skills to stun, down and groggy enemies. With a weapon like this she can keep enemies stunned for a long duration since they're groggy and can't attack. Also Kirin has a projectile that takes only 3 particles. Her limited UR weapon makes her do her Wind Slice twice for more crowd control. Truly she's better with a UR weapon. Fun fact, her mileage weapon does an active skill of 1000% damage, which costs 4 particles and is the strongest in the game in terms of mileage weapons. So overall Rinko may not be the best in stats and aligns herself with blue build, but her massive damage with Meteor and buffs with her other color builds makes up for it. Also fully investing on her with UR weapons, supporters, and Magatamas. She's going to be a very powerful character and is a force to be reckoned with. A tier. Asuka. From the get-go, Asuka is very easy to use and to pick up. Her moves are so light, it's so fun to do. Her recovery from a hit is also very good, you can get back to action in no time. She also has high stats, powerful skills, needs little investment due to her having high stats in the game, which does good damage. With her Taimanin art skill she will have range in her regular attack strings, which can pierce through mobs of enemies and melt their HP away. Her evasion is very quick, almost matching Asahi in terms of speed, and has high frames. She has also great crowd control skills which can hit multiple enemies, and just like Rinko she has a nuke move that kills all enemies like the meteor that is called Rendering Storm. Similar to Rinko, she leans towards more on a certain color build, which is red. Her other color builds are good as well, but as said, similar to Rinko, those other moves are unsafe, they can whiff and are punishable, Even her nuke attack can be punished if she's hit mid-air on Rendering Storm. Without her Taimanin art skill, she doesn't have the range attacks on her regular moveset, making her more unsafe since she needs to get near instead of having a distance to fend off enemies and chip away on armor and HP. These are things holding her back being S tier, and the most important thing that really holds her back is her not having an HP lifesteal skills. Also, her most powerful damaging skills Rendering Storm can be countered in PvE and PvP. She's also machine in arena like Emily, so she's weak to Megadamaze that has machine percentage damage. With all that flaws aside, is she a good character? Does she deserve this A tier spot? The answer is yes. Asuka's skills are very powerful in any build. She may lean on red more, but you can experiment on other color builds and see which fits your playstyle. She doesn't really need a UR weapon, but when she does have one, she is very powerful in terms of raw damage. Her best UR weapon is called Deathly Hina, which has an active skill that takes 5 particle charges. It stuns enemies and increases Asuka's speed. If you're not lucky to pull this, her SR weapon is good enough that deals more damage to machine enemies. If you got enough points in arena, you can invest getting her Viridian UR weapon there. Arena weapons are good starter UR weapons, they have high attack and critical stats. The best to get are the Viridian, the green ones, which decreases critical rate of incoming attacks not just in PvP, but also in PvE. With all that said and done, Asuka with little investment on the weapon side, powerful skills plus stats till late game, and her ease of use, she's truly a great character to get. A tier. Yukikaze. She's the main protagonist in the visual novel Taimanin Yukikaze. She's one of the first initial free characters to choose from in Action Taimanin and the second best choice to get. Yuki from the get-go is strong. She's a ranged character with powerful guns that can mow down enemies from a distance. Although she has the lowest stats in the game, she makes up for the damage she deals early on with her attacks and skills. You will need just a little investment on Yuki. On the weapon side, she'll be good. All her weapons are good SR or UR, but I highly suggest get UR weapons since her stats are the lowest in the game, and on later difficulties she might not do the desired damage you get on lower rank difficulties. With that said, always get the Viridian Arena UR weapon if you have enough points. In other stuff, all her skills are very versatile. Go either green, red or blue, she has good builds for all of them. Though she excels more on the green build due to the healing of the skill Rain. Also, since she has zoning distance as her advantage, her skills that can stun enemies and chip away on their HP makes her really good in PvE. She has great crowd control, especially her green build Death Ball skill that is so powerful. She's easy to learn and pick up as well, though a little slow when shooting and not free-flowing when she attacks. Her fast evasion makes up for it. If you're using her Taimanin art Raigaki, there's a learning curve to that skill. On the 5th time you press the attack button while doing her attack string, there is a just frame. You will need to hold the attack button for a second, then mash the attack button repeatedly to do the move. This move is very good. It doesn't consume anything. Does not have a cooldown or any downside to it. You can spam this after you mastered the move. Overall, Yuki with little investment on weapons and Megadamaze, she makes up for her damage and great skills to crowd control and escape situations that can put her in a pinch. She also has a healing skill, great zoning, evasion speed. Though with that said and done, she still has the lowest stats in the game. That is the only thing preventing her to get a higher tier on this tier list. B tier, good characters, but has flaws. Shiranui, Ingrid, Kirara, Sakura, Sue. B tier. Shiranui. Mizuki Shiranui is the mother of Yukikaze. To start her off, she has low starting stats when you first get her. Even though she had a range, speed, and animation buff a few months back, her stats still remain the lowest when you first get her. While her daughter starts off with good stats, mom starts with the worst stats in game. Though later on when she's leveled up, her stats become better than her daughter. Her stats on late game are not top tier stats as well. It's average, similar to Rinko's. This is one of the main reasons why she's B tier. You really need to build her from the ground up. She needs investment. Her main pros is that she's great at crowd control, has high damage like Murasaki, though she needs investment weapons to deal the desired DPS damage due to her low starting stats. A good UR will take you a long way. She also has some zoning skills, why she is at top of the B tier list. Her builds can be any color. She excels with red. With red build, her the skill Sen Kao is her sustain, which has life steal, one of the reasons why she can sustain in some high level play. It can also be replaced with her level 81 skill that also does life steal with the red build. Here's a tip. Sen Kao hits on a straight line while her 81 skill is an AoE, so pick and choose if you ever want to build her. Both skills have life steal. With green build, she has one of the most powerful crowd control skills in the game. Though it's punishable thanks to the animation wind up. Even though there's armor in that skill, she still can get damage and knocked off with strong attacks from enemies. In PvP she's weak to Rinko, but strong against Yukikaze. PvE she's great thanks to the buffs she had. As for builds, her blue build lets you get up close and personal with DPS attacks with her skill. Blue also adds an additional projectile to her skill attack. Though Shiranui was buffed in terms of speed, animation, and skill damage reworks, she still has that swing, which is a little slow as an attack starter string animation. What really makes up for it is her crowd control skills. Either go with her illusion build with green, red with life steal, and blue for more buffs in her skill attacks. So overall, is Shiranui good? Yes, if you invest and have the patience to build her stats. She is easy to pick up like Asaji. You only need to learn to time the dodge to hit with her crowd control and life steal skills. Also, she's a hot Taimanin mom, which you may like as a waifu. B tier. Kirara. Kirara is originally from the Taimanin RPGX game and is one of the most popular characters in that game. As for looks, Kirara is really an eye candy. Blonde, bust tee, twin tails, you name it she has it, truly a waifu. Though she hates men in her lore thanks to her father. Okay. Now on why she's not A or S tier. First of all, she's called the hybrid Taimanin. She's a half snow woman, half human, whose mother is a high-rank frost phantom with a human Taimanin father. This goes with her moveset and skills as well, a hybrid of melee and range attacks. Her moves are all over the place and has a learning curve. She has attack cancels like Rinko and attack strings that can link to other skills when timed right. She also has the highest defense in the game and can hit hard with her green build, doing high damage even on early game. But she needs investment on weapons for higher damage potential late game. An arena UR weapon 1 out of 5 is enough to carry her on dailies and events. Just make sure it's the Viridian green arena weapon. The reason why she's B tier is because she has the lowest HP and crit in the game. Also, Kirara doesn't have a life steal skill. The only, and I mean only, thing that makes up for it are her skills that buff her attack to do big damage early on. She leans green and red builds. Green build is her DPS build where she does big damage. Her trinity of skills are Glacier Drop, which increases damage 80%. Frigid Zone slows down enemies similar to Asaji Kujin Ka skill. On green bid the buff with this skill Kirara gets another 20% attack increase as long as it's still active. And last but not least her skill Snow Leopard Sprint, which increases her damage for 12% for 10 seconds. Imagine all those attack buffs combined. The main reason why she hits hard even on low levels. Red build with Frigid Edge gives her a long-range spear attack, though not the most reliable attack, it's very damaging when it hits. While blue build buffs her speed and defense. It's really gonna be hard to pick Kirara up at first because of the timing of attacks, attack cancels and attack strings. In PvP she's weak against Kurenai, but is strong against Asuka. She doesn't outshine Murasaki or Shiranui in terms of raw damage. She needs those green build buffs or other color build buffs to stack and do massive damage. Overall Kirara needs investment, has a learning curve, her recovery isn't also the best in the game and not really the one to get early in the game if you're starting. In conclusion, she's still good thanks to her damage increase and her high defense, which makes her tanky. She's very cute and pretty to look at as well. If you want to waifu her, invest in her and you will see her shine and do massive DPS. B tier. Ingrid. Ingrid, also known as the Hell Knight, first appeared in the visual novel Taimanin Murasaki. As always, we will not go into detail on the visual novels, but on action Taimanin lore only. She's the right-hand aide and secretary of the main bad guy in action Taimanin Edwin Black and is not in good terms with Oboro. So right off the bat, what is Ingrid's flaws, why she's not on a higher tier? Ingrid has a learning curve to her moveset since she has a stiff gameplay which is similar to fencing. It's hard to do damage with her attack strings lack the range and homing of the other characters. Arguable Su has a short range attack string, she is more free-flowing than Ingrid. She also has similar moves to other characters. It's like, why would you pick Ingrid when there are other characters with better tools and similar skills? She also has no life steal skill and has the lowest defense in the game, which is another downside to her. What makes up for this? Ingrid has the highest attack in the game, which she can dispose of enemies faster. She doesn't really need that much of an investment on UR weapon. Her SR weapons can do massive damage due to her high attack stat rating. Her pure blue build is similar to Yukikaze, where she has a death ball attack. Her red build has the Evil Bloom, which is similar to Asaji and Virgil's Million Stab move. Her green build has Crescent Slash, which is similar to Murasaki's Great Axe's Zen. Also Evil Flare is similar to Su's Senren Ka move, but with a sword instead of a gauntlet. So why pick her? Well, if you are familiar with the other characters' moveset, you'll be right at home with Ingrid with her skills, though as said she has a learning curve, since even though she has similar moves to other characters, her main strategy is different. This is where you put your skills to the test. She also has a great crowd control skill, Evil Heat Blast, which has various debuffs with different color builds. With her good evasion and recovery, this is her bread and butter skill, along with Blinking Ember, where she teleports behind an enemy and stabs them. If you're good with dodging and evading, Ingrid can crowd control and dispose off enemies easily. She doesn't really need that much investment due to her high attack stat, but late game she can suffer getting hits. Best is to give her blue Magadamas to aid her defense. So overall, to sum up, Ingrid, she is a glass cannon. She has remarkable offensive power, but has low defense. B tier. Sakura. Sakura is the younger sister of Asaji. On the visual novels of Taimanin, she is much older and becomes a teacher later on. Basically, she started off as a rookie Taimanin and became a full-fledged Taimanin. But in action Taimanin, she's still young in her teens and has the moniker of the young Taimanin. She's also one of the first 3 free characters from the start. I highly suggest go with Asaji or Yukikaze since she needs investment. She doesn't do much damage at low levels and slow with her attack animations, plus some of her attacks can whiff and miss. There's a learning curve to her play style. So what makes Sakura so low on this list? The number one reason is her slow attack strings, which should have been buffed like Shiranui would have made her higher on my list, and more safe skills. Also at times skills can whiff and she can be punished hard or be left wide open. She has short range skills and a few mid-range ones. Blue build is her best build. It is also called spin to win build due to shadow cleave, which is her best move in the game. After charging the attack button, she automatically attacks the nearest enemy with a spinning attack, and when that enemy is dead she auto teleports to another enemy. With good weapon investment and Megatama, this can wipe an entire mob in one swoop and destroy enemy armor. She also has a life steal skill called Shadow Spin on blue build. Careful though, since that move is short range, it needs timing as well and might not hit the enemy. Green build Shadow Claw increases her already high crit rating. Red build her Nether Dive is her nuke skill, which is powerful. The only problem with this skill is that it's mid to close range AoE. The reason why it can miss a few enemies on screen and Sakura can be punished because of the slow animation recovery. So what are her pros? Her main selling point is her high stat rating, and it's one of the best in the game. She also has the highest crit rate in the game. She's got good evasion, and like Murasaki, she has a skill that can snare all enemies. Sakura also has one of the best SR weapons, the Lion Heart, where when you defeat an enemy it has a chance to drop a Valiant Heart, which makes Sakura invincible for a certain amount of time. This is very good that PvE, since you are practically invincible for every time a Valiant Heart is dropped. On PvP though is another story, you need to invest in her to be good there. Late game she's good, but not the best. She's got good damage potential when invested on, but her moves that lack the range or leaves her wide open for attacks bumps her down. So in conclusion, Sakura is good, but has holes in her skills which makes her a B tier. The main remedy to make her attacks faster are speed boost supporters or weapons. But as always with Sakura, blue build spin to win. Also her ultimate is very powerful. B tier. Sujinglei. Sujinglei is Yukikaze's friendly rival in Action Taimanin. She learned and trained under Asaji, why she calls her master in Action Taimanin. Sujinglei is another original character on Action Taimanin. She has average stats overall and very technical to use, and probably the one with the highest learning curve in the game due to the timing needed for her skills. Though being technical, she is fun to play. Unlike Kirara, since she is more of an eye candy. But all kidding aside, Sujinglei has high iframes due to her triple evasion. But then again, the downside to this, her evasion is the shortest in the game, even shorter than Emily's. She has a counter move as well, but like Yukikaze's 81 skill and Shiranui's Ji-nei Sekai, she needs to get hit first before she can do the counter attack, which is a bit risky. Only do this on a pinch. A few of her skills can combo cancel, and thanks to the buffs, her attacks have been reworked. After evading, she will still do the last animation attack, which opens up one of her best skills, Seppa Shao, where she teleports to an enemy and attacks them from behind. This skill gives her buffs depending on the color builds you have. Speaking of color builds, Sujinglei, like Kurane, has a lot of color builds. But as said, she's technical and there's a learning curve to all of them. Best example is Senrenka. If you put blue first on Senrenka, she will do an attack 5 times. Green, she will just do 3 attacks but will poison enemies she hits. While red increases her damage for 15 seconds. Senrenka is pretty much her DPS and bread and butter move in the game. She is very short range, but very fast in attacking. PvP she's weak to Emily and strong against Noah for some reason. Going back to her evasion, even though it has high iframes, it's still short. If an enemy is far away from the screen, she cannot reach them in a short amount of time. Unlike Emily, who's currently the best long-range player in the game, can reach with her weapon range, while others have better dash evasion than her. Also, without good weapons she does lackluster damage. She needs a lot of investment early on and not the best to pick on early game. Her main tool and best gimmick is her ultimate. She gains invincibility and hits almost full screen all the enemies again and again and can wipe the mobs. There is a build for her to gain particles quickly, and she's gonna be very godlike if you can pull that build off. I will put the image on the screen right now how to do it. Credits to the boys in the Action Taimanin Discord for this Sujing Lei build. Overall, if you do get her on higher levels, she is pretty good, though a lot of investment is needed and a learning curve to learn Sujing Lei's play styles. Late game though, when she has good weapons, Sujing Lei can do ridiculously insane in damage as long as you invested in her. Like said earlier, she is very fun to play, and it's fun to try out different skill sets for her since she is a martial artist and has a wide array of moves. Her starting and late game stats beats Yukikaze as well. C tier, not bad, but has a lot of flaws. Noah. Obero. C tier. Noah. Another Action Taimanin original character like Emily and Sujing Lei. Her lore goes she is a demon, chimera that was created by combining multiple demon cells. Edwin Black, the head of Nomad, created her himself. As a deal between Black and Astaroth, Noah does Astaroth's bidding. Later on, after Kotaro feeds her, Noah warms up to the group and stayed with Kotaro. While at Kotaro's place, she fell in love with Kiko's cooking. So where shall we start? Well, for starters, she has good stats on HP and defense. Her attacks and skills are pretty powerful as well. But, yes, there's a big but. She may look good on paper due to her skills, but there is one major flaw. Nearly all her moves and skills are unsafe, meaning she can get punished a lot. Most of her moves leave her wide open to be attacked or countered. Noah's first two attack strings are great for zoning since she is a ranged character. The problem here, the later attack strings are very punishable, even with the Taimanin art that adds an extra attack. Her main advantage is she has two life steal skills. One life steal skill needs timing Amanda's Exile, which is done after an attack string or after a skill. The other one is Robert's Revenge. The problem with this is that she jumps back then does an attack, making it hard to hit and needs timing. If you think that Noah having two life steals make her good, the answer is it's only decent. Unlike Murasaki's life steal, Noah's life steal is really weak comparing both. Murasaki's life steal skills restores tons of HP compared to Noah, which only does a decent amount. Building her attack and crit would solve this, but still not near level to Murasaki's. She will need a lot of investment on weapons and Magadamas to up her attack. And speaking about her attack and crit stats, they're average at best. It's pretty much Noah's design to take on punishment with her high HP and defense stats. A hit dodge type of gameplay or a tanky life steal depending on your play style. Noah in PvP is actually strong against Emily, though it doesn't stop Emily's auto fire at her, which can chip away at Noah's HP from a safe distance. With blue build, marauding Mandy can suck in enemies to her and rip armor and does tons of damage, but leaves her wide open for punishment, and if an enemy attacks her with a powerful strike, they can stagger her while doing this skill. Green build Harpy's Dream Shade is a pretty good damaging skill where Noah does flip kicks, which is again unsafe on the landing animation. Red build has Juliet's Sneer. Very powerful and has AoE properties, can hit one enemy or multiple, but is a bit hard to do a combo into that skill. Her main gimmick here is her ultimate, which she becomes a giant and has invincibility. She does big damage and can chip away on enemy armor and HP. And the last hit will guarantee a knockdown. Problem with this is that it doesn't hit full screen like Sujing Lei's ultimate and mostly concentrated on a certain number of enemies in front of her, and she walks extremely slow in her giant form. Her best skill in the game that is safe on use is Sinister Living Dummy, an evasion counter which hits most enemies in an AoE. It lifts them up to the air for combo juggles. This is her best move in the game. Red increases her damage to enemies for 6 seconds. Blue increases the AoE area of the skill. And green reduces enemy damage to Noah for 10 seconds. This is a must-have skill for her. Her level 81 skill, she summons a familiar Abat, just like Sakura, who can also summon familiars. So overall, what makes Noah a C tier is her very punishable move set and skills. While though powerful and has good stats on HP and defense, the learning curve to her skills and unsafe moves takes it down a notch. For builds, Noah can be any build depending on what you want. A power hitter with green, crowd control and life steal with blue and red for more AoE and DPS buffs. She needs investment if you want her to shine in late game. She's cute and has a very soft voice, probably the reasons why you want to get her as a character. C tier. Oboro. Oboro is a former Taimanin and branded as the traitor Taimanin since now she works for Nomad and the arch-nemesis of Asagi. She is also not in good terms with Ingrid. To start off strong with Oboro, she has the highest HP in the game. Has good stats. But has the worst counter in the game, where she flaunts herself to the enemy, and when the enemy hits her she teleports above them to do a dive attack, which she can also be hit doing so. Basically her counter is unsafe. Don't even bother using this unless you wanna see Oboro flaunt her assets. She also doesn't have an HP life steal skill, which bumps her down on the tier list. She is more concentrated on a single target enemy while freezing others in place with her hypnosis skill, which is her best crowd control skill. With this skill she can be considered a boss killer, since most missions bosses is all alone and can be stopped for 5 seconds when she times the evasion. Green build with hypnosis increases the range. Blue insert 2 more enemies while red increases the duration of the skill. She leans more on red and green builds. Blue, she has a spin attack which increases her crit rate, but Sakura and Murasaki beats her spin attack by a long shot DPS wise. Her level 81 skill is also a letdown. It's similar to her Wicked Slasher skill where she lunges to an enemy. Though with green build this increases her attack for 7 seconds. Red build, she has Carnage Dance if you wanna go Wolverine on some enemies or boss. Red also buffs are also good for her other skills. Green, she has a range attack with Vicious Slasher, which is actually a good zoning skill. The main problem with Oboro is that she may have the highest health in the game, but she's the second weakest with the attack. Emily may have the weakest attack in the game, but the non-stop auto fire makes up for it. Oboro, it will be a chore to do damage, why she needs investment on weapons and magadamas. Shocking, I know one of the most powerful villains in the series has the second weakest attack stat in the game. She's fairly easy to use since she's got similar skills as well to other Taimanins like the spinning attack and dash teleports. So what's the verdict? Early Oboro, you will struggle with her initial attacks which are pretty weak, why you need investment for her to do more DPS. She does have good dodging and speed. But like said, early game her damage pathetic. It's not really suggested to get her right off the bat unless you like the character. Her playstyle is very aggressive in your face type. If you like that playstyle, Oboro is your woman. Her hypnosis skill is her best skill where certain amount of enemies are stopped on screen. The strategy here is she can either concentrate on the ones still moving or the ones that are stopped to do damage. Late game though, when you've been building her up, she will be good and can do some crazy stuff, but that is a long road since she's not that good DPS wise. The main reason why she's UR dependent. The good thing about Oboro is that she's good against bosses since you can stop even the largest and mightiest of bosses. But keep in mind to make her attack high or you'll be there for a long time and she might not even finish a stage with a time limit. Investment on good UR weapons and Magadamas are a must for Oboro. As I was making and editing this tier list, Astaroth was just announced to be a playable character. I will not include her in this list yet because, as said, a character needs to be tested first and foremost before you can put her in a tier list. Her skills may look strong on the preview, but on-hand gameplay is what counts the most. Meaning her skills and gameplay when you actually play her. Which why for now, Astaroth is yet to be tested in my case on this tier list. Also I will get her the day she drops on Action Taimanin so we can all see how good she is in gameplay or she's just another eye candy. And that is my Action Taimanin tier list for the 14 characters currently in the game. Remember, everything is subjectively ranked on my personal experience with these playable characters. The strength of any character is always with your time and investment with that certain character. As the saying goes, waifu is always greater than meta. Also, this is the true tier list.